does happen, but not a whole lot right now. It's just so massive. What we do is we come in with the cameras. We have about 180, more than 180 cameras throughout Florida, from Alligator Alley up to here and a little bit north of Orlando. And they're a mixture of things, from wildlife crossings to wildlife management areas to people's backyards. We have a project called Share the Landscape, where we have cameras in people's backyards, and we're documenting. That's a lot of the Estero area here, and 700-pound bears walking around manicure lawn, and never finding people here. Most people need the attractions. Panthers, kittens, and everything. I don't know if you guys ever saw that video of the gentleman that jumps into the lake to rescue the puppy and grab the alligator with a cigar. That's Rick, one of our homeowners. That's one of our cameras. You have no idea the nuttiness that happened after that one. I mean, Japan TV and Australia and CNN. I mean, it was like crazy. But that's one of the cameras, and that tells me that story of the importance of humans being able to thrive with this wildlife, but that it takes a little bit of work from us, right? It's like, don't walk your dog next to the water, and certainly not off the leash, and certainly not when it's that big. And by the way, don't dive after an alligator, because you're lucky that thing wasn't 6 months older, because you wouldn't have come out. So, but it's important. You have a question.
Yeah. Do you find that having those cameras that are showing what's happening at night is build support for the wildlife, or does it cause fear and people want, you need to come take this out of my neighborhood because I'm...
Yeah, so I'll add a sort of a descriptor before that. What's most interesting about that is that the majority of these people, these are new neighborhoods, relatively new neighborhoods, which means most people are coming, statistically, northeast, Midwest, right? No apex predators up there anymore, right? I mean, those guys were extirpated years ago, decades ago. And so they're coming here with no experience. And we have 3 apex predators, right? We have the panther, the bears, and the gators. And what's interesting is that every single home where we've placed that camera, the level of enthusiasm for that wildlife, for when they see a panther in their camera, you would think they're calling FWC and come remove this thing, and they are telling all their friends. They're sending that video to Ohio. They're sending that video. As a matter of fact, the gator video got out because they sent it to a family friend because they were so excited, after the fear factor. But so the answer to that is that the people that we touch with the programs become huge supporters. Now the community at large, and this was the plan for this project, the Share the Landscape project. But then COVID hit. The idea was put these cameras out and then go to the community centers and give presentations and shows, so the whole community inside, not just the person that has the camera. And of course, COVID kind of tripped us up. We're starting that up again now. But usually, when you create that awareness, you create that education, and you give these very simple things that we can do as feeders, right? I mean, bears, if you want to buy a bear-proof trash can and you want an HOA and work with the waste management company, you go do it even better. But even leave the trash can in your garage and bring it out in the morning, right? Just simple things, and people are, they, for our experience, 100% of them say, let's do it. So it's a really cool thing. Everybody's heard pictures worth 1,000 words, right? And I added to that. I said a video will leave you breathless, right? And it just adds that much. And when you see the mom with the kittens, or the sow with the cubs, and even the raccoon, here's this mama raccoon, and there's 4 little ones falling right behind it, or the possum with all the babies on the back. It just changes people's minds. And you see some of the stuff we'll have at the summit with 360 that we're doing now, which is just beyond. We have goggles that we'll let people wear and stuff, and we got lucky that a bear cooperated with one of our cameras. Tried to eat some of the batteries, but didn't. You see that, but that immersive technology, to be able to sit you there and have a bear smell your face, and the result is super positive, which is really cool to see. That gives you oxygen if you want to do that. So,
if I can add a comment real quick, another thing that we're seeing with the use of imagery and deploying cameras, for private landowners. It's another tool for mitigating conflict as well, because oftentimes, say there's and I'm talking not just Florida, but other places in the southeast where there may be wildlife conflict or a depredation or something that occurs, and the assumption is automatically, oh, well, it's the big scary. But in truth, once you get these cameras out, you'll see, oh, actually it was a dog or a coyote or some other animal that we have to work with those folks to coexist with. So they really do a lot to, I think, both simultaneously educate and inspire the folks to get that knowledge.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in our VR experience that we're developing in spatial, and I'll have to share that with you, we're trying to think, and we need your help with it, what should we put into the experience that will educate the public about ways to coexist with the wildlife? And one that we're putting in that we don't think anybody else is talking about, and we'd really like to change that conversation, is we did experiments in Botswana at one of the wildlife reserves we're working in, took it out to Germany to try it, and then we're doing it at the Eco and the lakes, and we haven't had any bear to try it with, but I'd love to try it with you guys. We use a simple incinerator food grinder, grind up the food waste, and then we just broadcast it on the ground and see if the wildlife are interested, and nothing comes near it so far. We haven't tried it with bear, but the baboons weren't interested in it. The only organisms is ants and microorganisms and worms, but literally grinding up an entire barbecue worth of leftover food, meat in there as well, and just throwing it on the ground.
And the guy, I mean, I don't. What do you think?
I heard your whole
Yeah.
story how we got to that point. Like, where were you trying to get things to avoid it?
The food to more efficiently make the biodigesters work, and then we just started working on ideas. What if you don't have a biodigester? And we started throwing, because the baboons were attacking the kitchen, they were attacking where they put the garbage. It was a baboon nightmare, and it was dangerous. So we started grinding it and putting it around to see what the
Things were working. Would something like that work? I'm
well,
not sure.
see, in Tahoe, we had a bear that came into the back of an Airbnb that we were staying in when we were doing work out there, and there was a food grinder in the kitchen, and we told everyone we should grind and throw it out. So we haven't had, we had to abort, but I think if we, at least where we could test it here.
I mean, you did talk to FWC, but some of the worst bear interactions are probably like some of the neighborhoods around Ocala.
Yeah.
When they get bears coming into I would talk to the bear team.
Mhm.
Like, talk to the guy.
So we can do that. And to Ben's point, you know, we think of these humans tend to think of these predators in a very sort of shallow, linear way, right? They kill and they have babies. With the cameras and the ability to show all of the other behavior that these guys do, it really goes far to change people's minds. We have a video of down in the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge. There's a female that was, and she just dispersed. She just apparently has new kittens now. We haven't got them on camera, but she just dispersed the other three. And we have a video that ends up being 6 minutes in length of her taking almost 2 days to teach these kittens to use a crossing under Alligator Alley. It looks a little bit like one of these, not two. And it's this whole thing, day and night, of her walking. I don't have any proof, but I think she had to kill the south side. In fact, she's trying to get there, and they would go right up to the edge of the refuge that they'd never crossed before, right? And they would stop. And she would go and come back, and she would chirp, and she would growl, and she was like, at one point, she had to go get him and come back, and he would always. And so the one of the mama, it went half close shape, right? So it hears that, sprints back to its sibling, right? She comes back, and you can almost see the eye rolling, and that one goes through, runs back, and it's like, it's okay. And then they start using the cross. A lot of there's feelings to them. There was a panther that got hit, a kitten got hit close to a arrow and corkscrew, and she'd sit there like, chirping, like, where are you? And they were thinking, like, did we take the body and put it back out there? So she's like, they picked it up. These videos, and they're a lot more than what we think they are, and that goes a long way to sort of opening up even the most like defensive people. Is like, oh wow, actually there's something there. So that's
right.
Yeah.
Beautiful film.
Yeah, it's incredible.
The first kitten since 73.
First proof that we had that a female had gotten north of the river since like 72, 73, and then she had kittens. And with camera monitoring north of the river, and I had like 20 cameras across 14 counties. So I put one on Alpine Ranch, which is like 100 and something thousand acres. And I was getting this mail every now and then one day I got this cat that looked like a female. Like the body shape, they're very dainty, the neck is thinner, but you know, if they don't turn around, just lift their tail in front of the camera, you can't be 100% certain. But I remember sending the picture to the rest of the pantherologists in Naples and being like, this is how you thinking? And they're like, maybe. Well, like, well, if it's a female, she'll come back by because their home range is too small. Well, like a year goes by before I get another picture of this small cat. The male is still coming through. And of course, remember, this is one camera. It was like 2015 when I got the first picture. And we put out like 20 more cameras and eventually got some pictures of that particular cat plus a track, and that was when Brian was with me. And we're able to say for sure it was a female. But the first picture was actually 2015 that I was like, hey guys, like, I think this is a female. And, you know, everybody remember Steve Irwin?
Yeah.
He had this that he said, and I'm going to say it wrong, but he basically said something just like Carl is brings into it in a way, like they get the full story of the animal, like watching them with these behaviors you wouldn't normally see, and like get you so interested in career about it. And that's, I think, the things.
And then, you know, DOT that's that proactive, but the total number right now in Florida, including aquatics, which is amazing.
That's the whole state.
That's the whole state. That's all, not just District 1. That's the whole state. And that doesn't count all of the other culverts, you know, and even we went, right when we started this whole thing, it's like, can you put a camera on kind of around 64 by Avon Park? And so we show up there. It's street pipes. And I'm like, why would anything go through this, you know, 40-foot dark tunnel instead of just crossing the road? It's not like a major highway. And so we put the camera and had to change it several different ways to actually right, they're doing this, and it just does this little dance, and raccoons, all kinds of skunks. What if we did this big concert, we put a pipe in there, right? Or whatever, and you'll probably hear from Cadence and other people, you know, that are the design, the design side of it, and landscape design. It's like, what if we change the vegetation of certain parts of it? Like here now, there's an aquatic part of it, right? That's not normal. This is like, we're going to do that here. And so the cameras also show you all these different things. There's like, oh, you know, we're not just putting quiet, they're not going to get anywhere near it. So all of that goes into their brains, and what's cool is just how deep they are to absorb the questioning and that data and say, what are we going to spit out? How are we going to do it? And then, you know, things like this happen. And it'll be really cool to see how fast these guys are using that. And then you're going to have the other cameras. That's what we do.
We could cut a trail. And actually, some of the wildlife might appreciate your little trail.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was going to ask, if mosaic landscapes don't actually,
You know,
the edge
that's
effect is a
something
good
we
thing.
talked about amongst all the people who do this. No. I think both.
Yeah.
Hey.
And underneath it's hard because there's no sun, right? So you
Right.
can't really plan it. It's going to look bare underneath. It's
Right.
always going to look sandy, but leading to it.
Right.
And Jen's right. I mean, the FWC guys, you know, the guys who spend a lot of time out here. I mean, you start seeing trails. I mean, you can really definitely start seeing trails in the different sizes and stuff. And you know, some of the smaller guys just, it's the same as your cat or your small dog at home. One of the walls. Panthers are there. They're good anywhere. And gators are just like, I'm just going across, right? And as they go, and you show up and there's a big trail, like tail slide and stuff. So, but there's such so many different types of them that it's hard to figure out. But we're getting there. You know, it's kind of cool to see it all sort of, you know, continue to develop.
Would you be concerned about invasives coming in if you don't native plant it? At least get it started.
It's a, yes, absolutely. It's
Pre-plant it, coming, you know,
yeah,
stuff.
it's Florida, you know, and I've learned to learn more from these guys because, you know, you just see green and it's like, oh no, I'm gonna go way through it, and I'm always not, I'm not the chopper, like I'll try to leave that, I'll just change where the camera is, and they're like, no, please, that one, get rid of it, like cut it. So invasives are, I mean, it's a nightmare.
They already spend so much money trying to manage invasives like on the
Yeah.
property. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like that whole thing grew in the middle with a bunch of pepper. Like, would it be worth the expense to go in there and cut it down, or just let that be the cover? I don't know.
Some of the.
I guess I'm just saying, like, are you just gonna do? Are you gonna plant?
I don't think they're gonna plant this. Like, there's no let it go.
Laura, I don't know this for a fact, but I think at the summit we're going to have some landscape architects because we took them out to one of the crossings in Alligator Valley and. Oh, wait, it's you. It's Casey. Sorry.
Because the overpasses will get landscaping.
Casey, tell us about it.
Well, we're going to have a summit tomorrow, a session where we're going to talk about the corridor compatible communities. And what you're talking about is exactly what we also want to figure out with expanse like this. You know, do you leave it open, let them kind of come in and find it, or do they want to be buried? And that invites different animals to kind of come through.
Sorry, I didn't recognize you because last time we were a little more.
Yeah.
But it was really cool having them at the crossing because Max and I, number one, looking at the cameras, but our heads just down looking for tracks. And these guys, like, they're just looking at these plants and taking pictures. And I'm like, why are you taking pictures? I have no idea what they're looking at, but they know this stuff. They know the plants, and they're like, they know what's there, supposed to be there, not supposed to be there, how to do it. And so it'll be really cool to see how you guys bring that into the conversation because it can make a big difference.
Well, and this is something we're trying to design into our game, and part of it came from when I was a kid reading Pierre Boulle's original Planet of the Apes novel, the French author who wrote it, and every highway in that book was designed for brachiating primates in mind. So it had grips that you could get over by brachiating, you know, going like that. We don't have those kind of primates. Well, we have actually. We do have monkeys here that shouldn't technically be here, and pythons. But I'm just thinking that when you have the engineers, are they thinking like the animal with its terms of locomotion? Some may. We're talking about bats earlier under there and building so there's bat habitat. Is there ways of building it so that certain creatures can find another avenue? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, and a lot of what you reference as locomotion for us is it ungulate or is it pod, right? I don't know what's the difference here because there are, you know, I mean, a deer just will not cross where it's not secure, right?
Right.
Yeah. So a bear, you know, this is a panther fence, and it'll have the wire on top. But a bear will climb over that.
Oh.
Right. You know, just and it's like it's nothing there. So, so a lot of the considerations that happens here is, you know, what's the substrate? What are we putting in to what we want to cross, and then the knowledge of what's that vegetation and how dark do we want it? Like the 36-inch pipe to me was like, you have to be crazy if you're a small animal.
Yeah.
This big thing, like dark. That's they love it, right? When
Right.
they move through the landscape, that's what they do. They don't move, you know, they don't necessarily move through the open stuff, right? They move through some very secluded type of stuff. So it just depends on what it is. And
But wouldn't prey be fearful of going through if they knew there's also predators, unless there's corridors for prey?
This is super generalized, but generally carnivores like low, dark, long, like they don't bother, doesn't bother them. Like, you know, like going through a pipe or culvert, even a culvert that's only this high, you'll get bears and panthers going through. Obviously, they'll use this kind of stuff too. Whereas prey tends to be, they don't like that.
It's like, hell no.
They want, especially ungulates, like open, tall, wide, bright.
Yeah.
They want to be able to see. So this is great. Like deer will walk through that no problem. So would bear and panther. So like I said, that's a generalization, but generally predators are going to be fine with it's dark, low, long, like, you know, but prey animals, they want to be able to see what's going on, which, you know, for everything eats you.
And we get asked all the time, well, isn't, you know, don't you find that the predators just kind of sit and wait at the end of the crossing? And I have never seen that. I've seen bobcats come through with prey that they probably got on the other side, or maybe but a lot of them are guys that are roamers, right? I mean, a male panther, 250 square miles more or less, you know, more on the one side, but over territory, it's not going to just sit there hoping something comes through, right? They are
I saw something on the internet, and I wouldn't be able to find it now, but there was a crossing somewhere out west where I think it was a bobcat had figured out it could use the crossing as a hunting and was picking stuff off. But it's not super common. Like
Right.
it's just like William said, like they're covering, you know, much more ground. So, you know, they're not gonna. They maybe sit there for a couple of days to hunt, but then they're off.
And the other thing is
Actually, the best research on that very thing is coming out of Canada right now. They've just done 12 of these land bridge wildlife crossings on the Trans-Canadian Highway on your Banff and Jackson.
They do some really cool stuff out there too, with like the motion sensor and all that.
They've got a lot of new stuff that's coming up, and they're actually finding some exceptions to what you just said. and it happens during the migration.
The migration,
yeah.
that's a
Okay.
different situation.
Where the predators have figured out they can
we
use
don't
their
have
housing.
migrating
And
ungulates.
that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's good. There's
Right.
numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have that. We don't have a migrating population of
And I
ungulates.
think
or
any
anything.
any cases of that happening are small enough that it outweighs, like, well, we shouldn't build a
benefit of-
crossing
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're gonna pick stuff
And-
off.
Right.
It's low.
The other thing, it's just like we think of predators as this very narrow thing. We think the same way of prey species, right? We're
Right.
like, oh, they're just dumb prey species. They're just waiting to get killed. And we work a lot with, we're actually doing a film now on the Yellowstone Cougar Project. And if you're an elk in Yellowstone between the age of 2 and about 12, you're golden. And they have everything there, right? They have the wolves, they have the cougars, they have the grizzlies. And if you're that big elk, you're not a dumb prey species. You're out there, and you are like, if you're a calf, you're in trouble, and if you're an older one, you're in trouble. So the prey, even our white-tailed deer, they're not just dumb. They're very good.
Yeah.
I mean, ask a hunter, right? I mean, it's hard, and so it's that also is a little bit of very narrow thinking as humans. Says, oh, these guys are just waiting to get killed, and it's like,
Unless you're a quail.
well, I don't know.
If
they're cute.
If folks
Yes,
are
if I
interested
can
in
add-
these,
yes.
sort of a collection of a lot of these resources, particularly around research that's going on across the globe. So every 2 years, there's the International Conference of Ecology and Transportation. So
Great
ECWA,
conference.
it was just held in Burlington, Vermont this year. So it was nice for all of us East Coasters to kind of really talk it out with the Western folks, which is sort of just the leading edge for so much of this work. But anyway, the conference, they just finally posted all the presentations and symposia. So folks are interested in taking a deep dive on kind of the state of the art for research and on the ecology with these transportation projects. That's a really good resource for folks to check out.
That's a good information.
Yeah.
Yeah, a question on that. I was counting the blue dots, which are the ones that are planned,
Yeah.
and there's like 35 or 36 of those. Are those conceptual, or are these in DOT's work plans?
They're in DOT work plan, but ask Brent the question. He'll tell you like what stage each one of them is. But if it's on there as a blue, it's on their work plan. And like I said before, I mean the foresight that they have in planning this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot driven by funding, like you said. I mean, we can only do what we can do. But I mean, it's amazing. Anything like the pile bridges that I'm referring to on 75. It was 75 is not getting new bridges. Alligator Alley is not getting new bridges, but they are remilling, resurfacing it all. And he knew there's five culverts, which are these guys over here on the west side of it, right before the Naples Toll, that are just culverts, right? And
They're like I have to bend down, so it's like maybe like that
Yeah.
tall.
yeah, but pretty wide. I mean,
Yeah, they're-
almost as
yeah.
wide as a 10. We documented a panther and a bear using it during the dry season. And so Gene is proactive over here. He's like, well, we can't really build a bridge, and we know it's going to be underwater half the year with the gators, but the other half, what about if we put, because the canals on both sides are big enough, a
Big.
panther can't jump it, right? There's some crossing spots when the water's low enough, but a lot of the wildlife is not going to go, yeah, no, forget it, and they're going, go the other way. So they dreamt up this idea on the south side. It's old wooden telephone poles, and it's like 5 of them put together. And then on the north side, it's 2 big cement square ones. You saw them, and like the cement ones, even the cement ones, the youngsters are not going to cross it. So is it better to not do anything, or he's like, no, let's put these things in there, and at least we know everything out of the paw is going to use it. A week after one of them went in, and the paw was still in the water, a week, and we had coyote, bobcat, and raccoon already using it to cross the canal and inspect what's on the other side.
Wow.
So it's not always perfect, right? But they'll do whatever they can. So, well, thank you guys. I don't know if you have any more questions, but look forward to seeing you over there. Sorry, I didn't recognize you, Casey. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we'll have auto outside the doors going